Peace to the family. Hey, I think we in this. Might have found out what's up. Peace to the family. Come on. I think I got the volume straight now. Peace. Peace to the family. Hey. I think we in this. Peace to the family. Hey. I think we in this. Peace to the family.
Y'all don't know what I went through. You got it.
Peace to the family.
Yeah, man.
Dang. Come on. I think I got the volume straight. Peace. Come on. Peace to the family. Peace. I think we in this to the family. Oh, okay.
Y'all don't know what I went through. You got it. You know what I went through. You got it. Yeah, man.
All right. How's it doing? All right. Make sure I'm good. Hey. I'm about to. Yes, can you guys hear me? This is another sound check. This should be good. Another sound check. Hey. Yeah. Oh man, it's about to go down. Yes, can you guys hear me? This is another sound check. Okay. Everybody's back. This another sound check. Yeah. Oh man, it's about to go down. Yes, can you guys hear me? This is another sound check. Okay. Everybody's back. Another sound check. Yeah. Oh man, it's about to go down. Yes, can you guys hear me? This is another sound check. Peace. It's Brother Polite. Just checking this thing out. Running some tests. It's Brother Polite. Just want to make sure I don't got that decibel. Just checking this thing out. Well, at this point, I'm just waiting for the people to roll in. I got an amazing course ready for you guys. At this point, I'm just waiting for the people to roll in. I got an amazing course ready for you guys. At this point, I'm just waiting for the people to roll in. Yes. Yes. The percentage has to go down. Yes. Well, I'm just doing some sound checks at this present moment just to make sure everything is afloat. So by the time we get this course started, I don't have to look back. I don't want to look back. Oh man. I'm just doing some sound checks at this present moment just to make sure everything is afloat. So by the time we get this course started, I don't have to look back. I don't want to look back. I'm presently waiting for. Oh man, just doing some sound checks at this present moment just to make sure everything is afloat. So by the time we get this course started, I don't have to look back. I don't want to look back. I'm presently waiting for. Oh man, just doing some sound checks at this present moment just to make sure everything. Why does it repeat? I'm presently waiting for the administrator to send out these emails. Once these emails get sent out, we'll get the ball rolling. And this will be course one. Send out these emails. Once these emails get sent out, get the ball rolling. This will be course one. just, dealing with this very negative individual calling me names, assuming that there's actually no class actually taking place, saying a bunch of stupidness. But I'm explaining to them it's a technicality. I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for my administrator to send out the email. My administrator was not corresponding back with me. It falls on me. But the ridiculous names that this person is calling me and presuming that I have no class actually, that's annoying. And the withdrawal from disrespecting this person back because it doesn't do nothing for me. I wonder why there's an echo feedback. I would like to know why is that happening. Why this damn thing is on 7%. It's crazy. This ain't even charging the damn phone. Maybe if I lower the decibel. See any new people yet? Still waiting. Yes, family, I'm still waiting for y'all to come in. Don't worry, when this is done, I will identify the time marker to which end you should start listening. Then I'll download it, I'll edit, I'll re-upload it, and we'll be straight. Don't worry, when this is done, I will identify the time marker to which end you should start listening. Then I'll download it, I'll edit, I'll re-upload it, and we'll be straight. Why is it doubling up everything I say? That's insane. Okay, people, just running another test. Just running another test. Okay, people, just running another test. That test seemed a bit effective. Nope. Let's see if this works. Nope, that's not good. That's testing. That's not gonna work. This shit is just ridiculous, man. know the type of stuff I gotta go through. You would tell I had to send you the live. Okay, people coming in. Great. Okay, great. Yeah, I had to load up. Plus, I'm using my phone's internet. Okay, people are coming in the building. This is great. Finally. Damn caps.
Subtitles?
Yeah, I think it's over here. Okay, man, please, let me just get to work. Let me just get to work. I'm gonna wait for a few more of y'all to come in. Whew, y'all don't have a clue what I gotta go through. Damn. Went through. Okay, I'm about to turn that volume down. Yeah, I'll take the volume down. I'm gonna get to work. Now, sentence that way you can let me know if I'm still good. Okay, y'all. I'm back. Oh shit. Non-stop. Non-stop obstacles, man. Non-stop obstacles. Y'all have no idea what I gotta do. Okay. sure. One more test. Woo! Man, yes. You have no idea. All right. You have no idea. Open up your PDFs and let's do this. I'm telling you, there's a force. I'm here fighting with the good family that support me too. Like, yo, man, they like, are you kidding? Is this a lie? And I'm like, yo, man, y'all gotta stop dealing with all that negativity out there and understand whenever it comes time to deal with the real work, fire and brimstone. You have no idea what's going on right in front of me. You have no idea the amount of chaos. But needless to say, I'm here. And what I'm going to do when the time comes, understand that I will cut this down so you can start the course immediately. But for now, when this is over, I'll put a time marker and I'll have it mass emailed to you all where class begins. So you can just skip to the point where it begins. Right now, this is Master Course Part 1, Status, Acquisition, and Funding. I also gave y'all an itinerary of events, okay, that deal with the Master Course economic portion. We're going to go through this today. Then we also have another course for Monday. Then we're going to conclude on Sunday. But that is not the end of the Master Course because then now we have to get into the actual health portion or the holistic mathematics portion. So right now I'm at your disposal. I got a new software that I'm using. It was freaking out. It was freaking out. But it is what it is. And so I'm here doing my best not to even get any more distracted because that's wild. Let's begin, shall we? And let's stay focused. I apologize greatly. I can honestly tell you, my wife said I started 4 hours earlier today. And still, and if I ain't started 4 hours earlier today, I don't know what it would have been. But we're here nonetheless. This is Master Course Part 1. We're going to deal with status, acquisition, and funding. I had to compartmentalize this information solely because it's a lot of information. And you would be cheated if I crammed it all in for a 2-hour interval. So I broke it down into today, which would be about an hour and a half or so, something like that. Monday, about 2 hours. Sunday is going to be for as long as it has to be based on how I feel about today and Monday. Monday will not have a PDF. Sunday will have a PDF. In this course, you're going to deal with pensions. You're going to deal with real estate acquisition, purchasing real estate with no money, with some money, little bit of money. We're going to deal with all of that. Today, our focus, remember, Sunday's class is going to be about the application of the information, how to actually get started. I'm closing it out with the application because I need y'all to get in tune with this information. But I'm not going to cheat you in as far as the fact that I'm just giving you a bunch of definitions. You need to understand what are some of the prerequisite steps to what we're doing. Okay, and then I'll direct you to other courses as well, so I don't have to take time out of this one to go through that information. So let's get to work. Master Course Part 1. Let's get to work. Status, acquisition, and funding. What is a secured party creditor? Well, it says here, what is security interest? It's an enforceable claim that is created by a security agreement or by the law that secures the fulfillment of a pledge. The lender has security interest in collateral provided by a borrower to guarantee timely payment. Keywords, security agreement and collateral. Now, what is a secured party? A secured party is the lender or seller who is holding the security interest or lien that is against an asset that has been pledged. Secured parties are paid first before the unsecured ones. So let's consider what's being said right now. A security interest is an enforceable claim that is created by a security agreement. So people talk about becoming secured parties, but they don't qualify their security interests. When you purchase property, it's important that you protect your asset. That's where trust come in. And by protecting your asset, you would have established a security interest. And you establishing a security interest, imagine that somebody else is selling you some property. Then they would have established a security interest, rendering them a creditor. And now you must follow the rules of engagement as a debtor. The problem is in law, they have you by default as a debtor in almost every circumstance, even when you think you're a creditor. And that's by way of UCC 9-105 in parentheses D. All of this is going to be made clear to you. Take down those keywords. Keyword being security agreement and collateral. Next keyword being unsecured. Take down these keywords. It's highly imperative that you do so because when this course is over, it's going to come together full cipher. Be not discouraged by new words and terms. We're going to bring it all together by the time this thing is over, and plus we'll have question and answer in the developing days as we do this course. So just take your notes. I took a lot of them for you. Take the other notes that you get from the narrative. Now, real estate or real status. Estate means rank, standing, condition. That's very important right there, okay? As you go in further when you read it, you'll also see some key words here. Aside from rank and standing, you're also going to see status and body politic. Okay? You're going to also see status and body politic. And so that's what estate alludes to. So we're talking about the etymology of the word estate. Because people talk about real estate. But what we're talking about when we talk about real estate, we're talking about a real rank, real standing, real status, real body politic. That's what we're talking about. So now we're going to look at the word real property. But before we do so, we see right here where it says the lease, deed, grant, bill of sale determines status. Okay? So we're talking about the acquisition of property. Unbeknown to many of us, this determines our status. Why is this important? Because somewhere down the line, we're also going to be talking to you about credit. And in order for us to be empowered by using credit, in order for us to be empowered by getting access to credit, we must realize that real estate brings about a certain rank, standing, status, or body politic. Take a look at what you see right now. Okay. So keep in mind, hold on. So right now, we discuss credit. And now we need to understand that when we're talking about credit, we've got to realize credit is about ranking. Credit has a lot to do with status. It's a class system when you're dealing with credit. So, one way you can assert yourself in a class system is through the acquisition of property and a manner in which you purchase property. How you purchase the property, how you may borrow against policies. These are the things that help establish your ranking in society. Many of us look at credit and say to ourselves, you know, I just gotta get my credit score up. But you don't realize that you live in a class system and credit is the epitome or it's a key exponent to the class system. So understand that when I'm talking to you about real estate, it's very important. So hold tight. You did nothing wrong. Lastly, the lease or deed grant bill of sale determines status. What is real property? Real property, also referred to as real estate, realty, or immovable property, is any property attached directly to land as well as the land itself. It is any subset of land that has been improved through legal human actions. Real properties include buildings, ponds, canals, roads, and machinery, among other things. Now, in breaking down real property is composed of any designated portion of land and anything permanently placed on or under it. The elements on or under the land include natural resources
and or human-made structures. Okay, so we go back to real property, referred to as real estate. Realty or movable property is any property attached directly to land. Okay, so when we're talking about real estate, we're talking about what? Your ranking, standing, your rank, standing, status, or body politic that corresponds with that which cannot be moved in the form of property that is considered a natural resource or is human made. Your status is very important because your status is what's going to entitle you or empower you with the ability to get larger lines of credit by way of your trust, larger lines of credit, simply by way you own property. Now we're dealing with changing the person's status. What is corporation? A corporation is an artificial person or a legal entity. It is an artificial person or legal entity. What does this mean? Let's think about it. Now, you got all this other information here. I'm not going to go through it because you can read it. These are your notes. But I want you to look at the key words. When dealing with a corporation, you're dealing with keywords such as individual or artificial person. So your company is going to work for you on your behalf. Your company is going to speak to you on your behalf. When a person is summoned to court, let's say you were speeding, and the officer pulls you over. The officer says, man, we summons you to go to court. What happens after that? Well, what happens after that is this. You get a piece of paper that says the state of California summons you to court, the state of New York City, the state of Texas, right? And we like, who's Texas, California, New York City? That's not actual people. But in fact, they are persons. And your company has a personality. So we can be spoken on behalf of by way of the instrument. The company is everything you are minus the flesh and the blood. That's what the company is. So you're going to use your person the same way people claim children on their taxes. You're going to wind up claiming persons on your taxes. But only thing is these persons will make you more money. And these persons will be your company or your corporation, particularly your trust. Then maybe your LLCs or your Type B companies or your S Corps and everything like that. They're going to have a relationship with your trust. These conversations will take place on Monday. Monday, we're going to focus on trust, insurance, and pensions. That's what we're going to focus on Monday. We're going to bring it all full cipher and deal with the application. But I need to warm you guys up to this information. And I want to make sure you have these notes at your disposal. Some of this I may have covered in other courses, but this serves a greater purpose because this is the master course. All right. So now, okay, we still got the keywords for estate, which is rank, standing, status, and body politic, whilst at the same time we have corporation as an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or nation, composed in some rare instances of a single person and his successors being the incumbents of a particular altus, but ordinarily consisting of an association of numerous individuals who subsist as a body politic under a special denomination, which is regarded in law as having a personality, listen to that, an existence distinct from that of its several members, and which is by the same authority vested with the capacity of continuous succession, irrespective of changes in its membership, either in perpetuity or for a limited term of years, and of acting as a unit or single individual in matters relating to the common purpose of the association within the scope of the powers of the authorities conferred upon such bodies by law. So this is going to all be interesting when we bring it all together, but understand that your company has a personality, is considered a person, and it will speak on behalf of you, it will operate on your behalf. So now you get a second chance at life, and later on we're going to realize that we shouldn't have been putting much of anything in our name. You want to control everything and own nothing. We shouldn't have been putting anything really in our name. But it's a part of our poverty disposition, our poverty-stricken disposition, where we lived under people for so long. Our mother, our fathers, people treated us a certain way when we had to be under their jurisdiction, when we had to be under their laws and their rules, that we couldn't wait to get out into the world and finally have something of our very own. And in doing so, we moved in haste. We signed a lot of contracts, put our name on instruments, put our sign of nature signature on documents, and we got tied into all sorts of debts that changed our status in society. So much so that we don't have the same privileges that other people have in the name of that credit score. And later on, of course, we'll talk about the wealth score quotient, the very reason why some of us can get hundreds of thousands of dollars loaned to us and approved by way of credit while others can't. So these are some excellent books to go further into the subject matter, which is Head of the Crown, Fee Simple and Crown. Juris equals law. Diction means spoken. So when we talk about jurisdiction, we talk about that which is legally said. The way that you own a property is going to precipitate jurisdiction. So in other words, you want to have a fee simple relationship with your property. Oftentimes when brothers and sisters purchase properties, they purchase properties that have a conditional interest. Okay? Conditional interest. Purchase properties that have a conditional interest. This is a problem. By conditional interest, we mean that you did not know, other than the party selling you the property, that there were other parties involved that were planning on making monies off of your debt. So they sold you the property under a condition, and it's against the law to have a conditional interest. Furthermore, proof of this is the fact that if you were to talk to a person that has a mortgage, and then they were to ask, hey, where's the original note at? If they ask the bank that sold them the property, where's the original note at? They would have to realize that, you know what, the bank doesn't have the original note because they sold it to somebody else. That's an issue. Okay, so you want to have a fee simple relationship with the property. So this means that, remember, we talking about real estate helps assert your status. Actually codifies your political legal disposition. So now we don't want to buy properties under a condition stipulating that I can only own, I can only be in debt, because a debtor can only be in debt. They can never own property, and that's according to UCC 9-105 in parentheses D. A debtor can only conditionally own property, and this is based on the presumption of law, or the idem sonens. The idem sonens is when your name is written differently to give the impression that it's still you, and if you don't know or have any cognizance of these type of nuances to law, then you sign yourself up to be abused perpetually. And in turn, you surrender your status. So I'm not talking about throwing your birth certificate in the water and throwing your social security card away and attempting to get away with vehicular homicide if you hit somebody and then tell them, oh, you ain't got no jurisdiction over me. But I am talking to you about status. A status that's precipitated by the manner in which you buy and sell, by the manner in which you choose to go into debt, or how you go about performing debt obligations. These are the determining factors that will empower you with the ability to get greater credit scores, because you'll be more privileged in a society that you must consider is based on a class system. And the way they render this class system onto you is based on your credit score. So understand, it's very important to see this as a class system, and the key identifier for the class system is credit. So everybody's at different levels. I don't care what you say. When it comes to credit, we're at different levels. Okay? And that's why they have a credit card redlining system to alienate certain races and just groups of people and clusters of demographics from being able to have access to certain privileges in society. Like a Rolls Royce is a privilege car. You can't just buy it under the normal circumstances that surround cars and financing. It doesn't work like that. It was a car that was designed for those more privy based on a certain line of credit. If you wasn't purchasing it straight up cash, you're not getting it unless you have the right privilege. And it was designed for people that were privileged to come from ethnic groups that contrast to our very own. So much so that when a black man or woman drives it, it automatically resonates status. And that's a minuscule way to see it, but actually a very key way to see it, because the manner in which you purchase a Rolls Royce is very different from any way you purchase the other cars. And so, such is the case with certain types of homes, certain types of laws, and certain types of loans. So, what we're talking about here is diffusing the presumption of the idem sonans. What we're talking about here is establishing a priority lien prerequisite to the creditor establishing one, and then employing a conditional interest per our transaction. When we put a lien on our property before they establish a lien in the form of a mortgage or any other form of financing they choose, that's called a first in time, first in line lien. This means that we have established a perfected claim. A perfected claim is the type of lien that's established when you put a lien on your own property before someone else does. First in time, first in line means, hey, I'll give you an example. If your trust, if you work for your trustee, if you say, hey, I'm in debt to my trust 1,000 times over, I just made an agreement with my trust that everything I get, I have to forfeit it to the trust. Yet this is your trust, but you ain't created. You just have the right of power and control. Because you want to control everything, own nothing. In another instance, you may have another person working on your behalf, your LLC possibly, because the liability is limited liability company. And you may say, hey, my LLC is going to purchase this property, but because of the UCC financing statement, we can clearly see that the LLC is a debtor and the trust is the creditor. And so there's an arrangement amongst my trust, as I'm the trustee, and amongst the LLC, as I'm an official liaison of the two, that everything that becomes a hard asset is rendered onto the trust in private. So the LLC works in public, generates the revenue. And when the revenue turns hard asset, it is beholden to the trust. What then do we do? Well, by default of the fact that everything that the LLC gets is rendered onto the trust through to a debt obligation that stipulates everything that comes through the LLC by default belongs to the trust, we've established a form of a perfected claim. And therefore, there will be no repossessions and there will be no foreclosures when this is conducted properly. This is how you really protect your asset. And this process is going to be called retitling if we do it immediately through the trust. Nonetheless, this is called the perfected claim. And this is the manner in which, on a country capacity, they call it an allodial title. But on an individual capacity, it's called a fee simple relationship. Okay? And if you study common law, in common law, before we came up with the term fee simple, the very same stratagem that I spoke about being employed rendered the property a crown. And who wears a crown? The sovereign wears a crown. The king or the queen wears a crown. So when you purchase property, void of a conditional interest, when the prerequisite step to the property was establishing a first in time, first in line lien, otherwise known as a perfected claim, it renders your relationship with the property fee simple. And in common law, the same is identified as a crown per the actual real property. The real property is considered a crown. So when you own property, correctly as a secured party creditor, the property itself is identified as a crown. And thus you have jurisdiction. Something is legally being said by way of the UCC that has been filed. You have jurisdiction. You have the ability to say someone's trespassing. You have, to the fullest extent of the law, established your ranking and your status. And because of this, even if you bought a little tiny lien or a small piece of land, you would be creating idealistically an opportunity to amass wealth and opportunity through privilege per the credit system, per your right to establish lines of credit with your business, particularly the trust. So just keep these things in mind. This is all orientation for the most part. So that way when we start dealing with the application, you can always come back. So jurisdiction, crown. Let's look at it. Jurisdictional, adjective, origin, Middle English. Jurisdiction, let's go. Just, jur, law, dictio, saying. So, what is legally being said? Oh, what's lawfully being said? Let's say it like that, because there's a difference between lawful and legal. Let's be all the way exact in our deliberation. So, what is lawfully being said? That's jurisdiction. When we talk about matters pertaining to jurisdiction, we're saying what's lawfully being said, just by its bearing witness to the methodology that has been employed. The methodology that has been employed will help us make a determination about the ranking of the individual that facilitated the same. Always keep this information in mind. That's why I got these crowns all over the place, okay? In common law systems, land tenure is the legal regime in which land is owned by an individual who is said to hold the land. The French verb tenir means to hold, and tenant is the present participle of tenure. The sovereign monarch, known as the crown, held land in its own right. All private owners are either its tenants or subtenants. Tenure signifies the relationship between tenant and lord, not the relationship between tenant and the land. Over history, many different forms of land ownership. Example, ways of owning land have been established. The condition under which land or building are held or occupied. Okay? So we keep that tenure there. Very important, because a lot of times you purchase property, the property has tenancy deed on it. They tell you, congratulations, they bring you your wine. Of course, I'm fronting. They bring you your wine and your grapes and flowers for your arrival, your grand arrival into home ownership. And you look at the deed. The average person asks, what kind of deed you got? Do you got warranty deed, tenancy deed? They don't even know the type of deed they have. And that's a problem. So what are our UCC goals? We're talking about real estate. Prerequisite to real estate is UCC. Prerequisite to UCC is a security agreement. This you can get from the UCC course, so I won't saturate a lot of my deliberations about this. But remember that I said it. Prerequisite to real estate acquisition is UCC, and prerequisite to UCC financing statements, the first statement, the 1. 3 is where the amendments get done. 9 is what we're talking about, the debts. Prerequisite to all of that is the security agreement, which is the elongated version to the UCC. Don't worry if all of this is new to you, because the way I designed this course is for the intermediate, for the novice, okay? For the accelerated. This is for everybody, because some of y'all dealing with foreclosure. Some of y'all just, look, I want to buy something and flip it. Like y'all said, I want to make some money off of property. We're going to deal with so many of those things, it's going to be ridiculous. So what are our goals? What are our UCC goals? Create public notice of registered lien. We want to do that. We want the whole world to bear witness. We want a record that we can look it up, the date and the time that it's been established, because we was talking about first in time, first in line. So you want to be able to create a public notice of registered lien. We'll go into that when we deal with the application aspect of this course. You're going to record with the Secretary of State or the County Clerk Office. The debtor will transfer security interest in Section 4. We'll talk about this later. You're establishing a realm of recourse via perfected claim, meaning, if should anyone deny you of your inalienable or unalienable rights, your man-given rights or your God-given rights, the fact that you've created public notice of registered lien gives motion or rise to a recourse via perfected claim. So you will have the right, and you will never even get to court, because remember, court is the paperwork, and courtroom is the room in which you discuss the paperwork. And we always speak about how your paperwork shall precede you. Your paperwork shall precede you for the purposes of not having to go to court in the first place. That's what this UCC is set up for. So keep that in mind, good family. Keep it in mind. Now you have Trust Me. The UCC works. Another publication I put forth. What's a trust? You can read through all this. The notes are here. But a trust is property held on behalf of one so that another may benefit. Keep that in mind. Take a read. Take a good look at what's here. Take a good look at it. Okay? So the goal is to control everything, own nothing. So now we got to look at this trust from a biblical perspective. It's a real good analogy. So when we talk about trust, you're talking about property held on behalf of one so that another may benefit. And the goal for the trustee is to see to it that the trust never accumulates negative asset value. So when we look at the religious pretense, and we make this analogy, it's fair to call God the creator, right? Or the settler. God would be the creator. And what always happens is that there's a prophet that comes out of nowhere. He came from darkness or from some mountain where it was real quiet. Nobody was there to witness, and he comes out with all this information. And he tells you about God, and people are a bit skeptical for all the right reasons, because they like, man, how come he ain't speak to all of us? How come you're the special person that he spoke to? You ain't even as brilliant as everybody else walking around here. My man down the block is way more smarter than you. How come you got to speak to God? That's what they do. So what happens is, the guy says, look, I'll be right back. He comes back, like in Moses' case, he comes back with all sorts of tablets. Now, we know it was 613 commandments. We know damn well He ain't make one trip with all those stones, but we ain't judging though. He ain't on trial. We just gonna have a conversation. He goes, he comes back, he has information. This is the laws, statutes, and commandments. And the people render that, you know what, whether we met God or not, this is so deep and so profound. It might have came from a powerful intellect beyond us. More importantly, if we were to make this plan applicable, we can see the abundance that we would be given. And in fact, God says himself, I promise you real estate. Or he says, oh, Israel, I give you the land. You shall inherit the earth. And if you should follow the law, statutes, and commandments, your children will receive the same. Every bit of abundance that you get, if not more. All you got to do is follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Well, the trust works the same way. The trust was created by somebody that becomes not irrelevant, but it's not the key point of focus. Like, in other words, when we go to the religious paradigm, God didn't create the earth so he can be living in the earth and walking around and doing this thing, clubbing and partying for his own amusement. He created it and he said, look, this is for y'all. And if you follow the laws, the rules, the statutes, the commandments, then what's going to happen is, you're going to have more than what you started out with. If you follow these rules, these regulations, these provisions, these laws, these statutes, commandments, and then your children can get this. So not only will you get land, but by the time your children are relevant, they will not only have land, they will have more in addition to the land. So your children will benefit. So your children are the beneficiaries. And remember, God gave you this earth, right? So in that same respect, a trust is property held on behalf of one so that another may benefit. Property held on behalf of one, I'm doing good, so that another may benefit. That's what that is. So guess what? The trust is created, and you're talking about holding property so someone else can benefit from it. The person that conveys the information would be the trustee. So the trustee is acting as a prophet. The trustee is the prophet, and God is the creator or the settler or the trustor. And these laws, statutes, and commandments are here, but the only person to convey it is the trustee, not the actual person who created the trust. And so, provided we execute the plan of the trust, others would benefit, hence the term beneficiaries. And so when we're dealing with law and taxes and everything else, the trust is very interesting. You know, America has over 200 trusts. They create everything in trust, but then they tell us to do the LLCs and everything. You know, Social Security is a trust fund. Roads and highways, a trust fund. Birth certificate, put in trust fund, held in trust. Everything they do is in trust. There's over 200 trusts that America creates to facilitate their nation. But when they tell you create a business, it's always everything but a trust. In fact, most people know very little about all companies or persons, but especially even lesser when it comes to the trust. So keep all this thing in mind. You want to control everything, own nothing. So when a person goes and says, hey man, we're trying to deal with the monies as it relates to your person or your company, you say, man, I didn't create this company. You say, oh, okay, so show me the person that's in control. You go to the person that's in control, they say, I didn't create this company. You say, all right, let's go to the creator. The creator, like, I'm not in control of the company. So the creator's not in control of the company, and the person in control of the company is not the creator of it. So it puts people looking to tax you in a conundrum. It's an ancient conundrum because the creator isn't the one with the control, and the controller isn't the one that's the creator. And this creates the crevice of space that you need to identify your political legal disposition as well as assert your status, either as a body politic, conglomerate, enterprise, or individual. Very powerful information. We're going to move forward though. So before investing in property, what are some things that we want to know idealistically? We want to know, are there any liens or encumbrances on the property? We also want to know, what is the income and expenses? How much money can I make off of this property? Max. Or we're going to study the comps. And we're going to see what the average property, likened to the one I'm interested in, makes per annum in retrospect to its expenses. so we can see if it's even worthwhile. And then we're going to deal with rental history. We're going to compare and contrast. We're going to deal with rental history. Okay? And then we have a local real estate attorney or inspector. You definitely want to get that. You want someone to properly survey this property. Okay? So a local real estate attorney or inspector. We want to have that. Now you also want to see what's the school district criteria, the crime rate, and other amenities that's in that neighborhood. You want to see that. Let me close this door. Okay, school district criteria, crime rate, and amenities. Are there any liens or encompasses on the property? What's the income and expenses? What's the rental history? We need to get a local real estate attorney that understands the community and some of the history thereof, an inspector. Then we want to know what kind of school district it is. Because if it's a highly reputable school district, property value is going to look pretty good. We want to study the crime rate and amenities. Right at the same breath, we don't want to go where the properties are worth that much money, and we don't want to go where it's not worth much at all. We want to find the right through line, suburbs maybe. This thing that's really going on a lot, it's selling a lot. Right there. We want to find out what the average person normally has when it comes to spending X amount of money. So you want to study the cap, and we'll go into that information, okay? Title versus deed. Got to get involved with this information. I need you to pull all these resources in the form of this information. I need you to pool these resources in the form of knowledge. So that way, when I start going forward, I don't want to have to look back. Because when I say title, when I say deed, when I say status, when I say ranking, when I say secured party creditor, when I say UCC1, financing statement establishes the relationship amongst the creditor and the debtor. When I start saying these things and I'm moving fast and I'm going through the application, you have a point of reference for all this information, because 1 minute is like this and the next minute is going to be very accelerated. Believe me, everything that I'm giving you, it serves great purpose. So walk with me, hold my hand. So the definition of a title search is an examination of public records to determine and confirm a property's legal ownership and find out what claims are on the property. A title search is usually performed by a title company or an attorney who researches the vested owner, the liens or other judgments on the property, the loans on the property, and the property taxes due. Keywords: transfer the ownership. Title search. Okay? Different from a deed. Deed is a legal document that grants the bearer a right of privilege, and there go the word privilege, provided that he or she meets a number of conditions in order to receive the privilege. There go that word again. Usually ownership. Ownership is a privilege. So I guess if you own a whole lot of property, real property, you're really privileged. It's in the words. The bearer must be able to do so without causing others undue hardship. A person who poses a risk to society as a result of holding a deed may be restricted in his or her ability to use the property. Deeds are most known for being used to transfer the ownership of automobiles or land between two parties. Okay? So the history of the transfer is where we're going to get from the title. The deed itself is going to be what's taking place right there at the moment, or we're going to use this to leverage a new operational activity hereafter. So when we talk about doing a title search, we just want to find out the previous history. I want to know if the person who previously had the property, if they obeyed the zoning rules, because maybe we might have skipped that, the last person that owned it, but then when I buy it, now it's relevant again. Somebody's after me. Want to know if anybody owed any child support, because in most instances, if someone owed child support and there's a child support lien on their property, I'm going to have to pay the rest of that person's child support if I buy that property and I don't do my due diligence. So conducting a title search, grantor gives, grantee receives. First, it's important to review the legal definition of grantor and grantee in a real estate transaction. The grantor is the party that conveys the property in question. The grantor may be an individual, business entity, or partnership. Okay, individual also means that paperwork. that paper entity, minus the flesh and blood. That person, legal person, fiction, legal fiction. The grantee is the party that receives the property. Register of deeds, definition of register of deeds, is a record of real estate deeds or other land titles that is maintained by a local government official. The register of deeds will be used in conjunction with a grantor-grantee index that lists the owner of record and any transfers of property. County register recorder. Very important information because that's where you want to go to further your research when doing a title search or any form of due diligence outside of a very resourceful app, namely Zillow. If you don't have Zillow, download it. I always suggest people get it because it has a lot of great data on it that's very accessible to you. Very powerful app. Now we're talking about the tax lien. And the reason why we're talking about this tax lien, let's read it. The tax lien takes priority over a claim of any person whose property is encumbered by the tax lien and over the claim of any holder of a lien on the property, whether or not the lien existed before the attachment of a tax lien. A tax lien is a tax lien imposed by law upon a property to secure the payment of taxes. A tax lien may be imposed for delinquent taxes owed on real property. Tax deed. The tax deed is also known as the auditor's deed, in which the estate seized on account to delinquent taxes. Thus, the title is transferred over to the purchaser at a public sale. Redeemable deed states. Redeemable deed states auction off property deeds, but there is a period during which the delinquent property owner can come back and redeem the property. If a deed is redeemed during that period, it works much like a lien. The property owner must pay what is often a large penalty or interest rate. The penalty is larger than the tax lien, and this means more interest. If the property owner does not redeem, the deed holder can become the fee simple owner of the property. Whoa. The redeemable deed is almost a perfect amalgamation between the tax lien and tax deed. I'm actually in Florida right now. This happens to be a tax lien and a tax deed state. Very few are compliant with both or in conformity with both. Now, what to say to the county government when you want to buy a lien? Remember, if a person has, let's go, the redemption period is the amount of time, and I did a tax deed course already. The redemption period is the amount of time a person is allowed to go without paying their property taxes before the county government has the right to solicit that debt in the form of a lien that is issued for purchase for a profitable amount. Should no one redeem, let's say it's New Jersey. New Jersey has a 2-year redemption period. So because New Jersey has a 2-year redemption period, that'd be the amount of time you can go without paying your taxes before, let's say, they pull the plug on you and say, well, we're going to sell your debt to somebody else. And if you don't pay your debt, and the bank doesn't come in and pay your debt for you, the bank sold you the property, then we're going to sell it to the person who has a first priority lien for the amount equal due and back taxes. Okay? So the property can be worth $80,000, but you mess around and buy it for $5,000 or $6,000 because no one paid the delinquent property taxes per the redemption period. Now, this is where you can make a great deal of money. Okay, now we can reverse osmosis this thing and say, oh, we're going to purchase liens that we believe there's a high probability for us to get the property, so it'd be even cheaper than a tax deed. And in doing so, if that plan fails, we'll still get a percentage plus the late fees, penalties, and surcharges, so you'll still make a significant sum of money. If the plan succeeds and no one redeems, we would have paid a lien amount of money, and we could opt into the opportunity to get the property and sell it back for 30% below its fair market value, 40% below its fair market value. But the reality is, I spent $5,000, $6,000 on a lien, the property's worth $80,000. I could still get a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, and I'll probably have a bad credit score and get about 60% of that $80,000, which is $48,000. And thus, this is the first time and the only thing that I understand on planet Earth where I could say, yo, I give you $5,000, $6,000, can I get $48,000 back? And it's the only thing I know that works like that. So we're going to have application. We're going to have a class to really deal with the application of this. That class is going to be super intense because there's so much to cover between credit and real estate, and then marrying the two together so you can realize how you can leverage your acquisition of real property into privilege or do standing for credit. So what do you say to the county government? Well, here's some things you would say when you call them. You might want to call your local county government and say, here's what you say when you call the county government to inquire about tax lien and tax deeds. Greetings. You say, my name is Brother Palayu. Who might I ask I'm speaking to? And then they tell you that, and you say, well, I'm from, you tell me your city and state, zip code, all that. Now, I would like to know if you can give me some assistance on finding out when will your county be conducting another tax lien or tax deed sale. You let them know, I would like to know, if possible, can I have the list of the parcels that will be available at the auction sent to me? You want to ask them, is there a website where I can get general information about the upcoming auctions, or is calling the county like I have my best methodology? Okay, so you're going to say, is there a website where I can get general information about the upcoming auctions, or is calling the county like I have my best methodology? Does the county have a financing program available? That's important because sometimes you have non-qualifying financing programs established by the government. A lot of times you buy these deeds and you don't have to pay the full amount. You put like $300 on it, $400 on it, be some thousands of dollars. Buys you some time. You put the rest on it, you get the deed, you pull out your HELOC, and now you got all these monies at your disposal for a little bit of money that you put down. We're going to discuss, when you get those monies, what are some of the most viable things you could put into an investment so you can get the return back before you have to pay back that revolving line of credit that you get in the form of a HELOC. See, the name of the game is to make sure you access enough monies that you can make decisions that you know undoubtedly is going to work on your behalf. Even if you come up short of your expectation or goal, you still have enough to pay that back to keep your credit revolving so you can live to do it again. If not, compound interest and purchase yet another business opportunity because the first one succeeded. Okay, does the county have a financing program available? So you always want to check in to see about the non-qualifying financing program. Where will the auction be held, and how does one go about registering? It's a very good question. And what type of title of the property will be issued upon purchase? Very good question. What form of payment is the most conducive? That's good, because you want to know if it's cash, because you won't show up with a card and then it's not going to go down. A lot of times it's cash, but things are changing. And a lot of counties are starting to take cards. Sometimes they want you to bring cashier checks a lot of times. Most times they want you to bring cashier checks, let me say that. Okay? What form of payments is the most conducive? And by saying that, now you get to find out if you're not limited to one. You got to ask these things because everybody doesn't have the IQ or the communicative ability to tell you everything you need to know. So you got to formulate questions that are very concise in form, but give you the full spectrum of an answer that you're due. Okay? So you want to know what form of payment is the most conducive. And then lastly, is the auction a premium auction? Is it a bid down the interest auction, or is it another format? Because then you have to prepare yourself, acclimate yourself to how you want to outbid against other people. That's what you're going to do. Okay, they may do a bid down the premium or the interest. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different approaches to it. It's not always, oh, you want to spend $300? Sold to the person who wanted to spend $300. Sometimes it's 5%. You know, are you willing to get 2% less than the amount we said we would give you? So if it's bid down the interest or the percent or the premium, New Jersey gives you like 21% on your return from a tax lien. So the auction may start off with, do we hit 19%? Who's willing to only get 19%? Someone else, who else is willing to only get 15%? Who else is willing to only get 14%? And sold to the person who doesn't mind getting only 9%. You say, man, why would someone do that? Because someone like you is banking on, well, you know what? I may get 9% of my money, but the real thing is I'm really looking to get the property, and I got good reason to believe, thanks to the due diligence taught by Brother Polite, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put this $3,200 into this property, And if I only get 9% of the $3,200 plus late fees, penalties, and surcharges, I still wind up with close to $1,000 profit. But the real goal is hopefully no one redeems, and I wind up with the $40,000, $50,000 profit. Because now with that $40,000, $50,000 profit, I can get about $30,000 revolving line of credit from $3,200. So from $3,000 to $30,000, yeah, that's a great opportunity right there. Because then I would know what to do with the $30,000. It's simple math, family. So what form of payment is the most conducive? And then you have, is the auction a premium auction, bid down the interest, other format? Then you close out respectfully. You know, make sure you say their name when you get off the phone. Show love. It's the Brooklyn way. Share love. You know how that goes. So now, you're also going to ask, say, yo, I need some assistance on finding out when will your county be conducting another tax lien or tax deed sale. You also want to ask them, I would like to know how possible can I have a list of parcels that will be available at the auction sent to me. You also want to ask them, is there a website where I can get general information about the upcoming auctions, or is calling the county like I have my best methodology? You also want to say, does the county have a financing program available? Where will the auction be held, and how does one go about registering? So we went through all of that, just reaffirmation. Those are things that's very important and dear to me. The birth of the tax lien. Taxes are delinquent. Government, county will then issue the tax lien. The tax lien certificate conventionally is sold at the auction. Then you will potentially earn the interest or gain the asset property by default, depending on what takes place during or after the redemption period. One of the two things will happen. You receive profit checks in the mail. The amount enclosed represents your principal and interest. Or two, you're end of redemption period, you send out certificate mail or certified mail, to entities that have an invested interest in the property, namely the people, the deed owners, the bank, etc. Okay? And now you're just going to be covered. These are some notes you need to just have. Sometimes it's going to go in your affidavits I teach you about. In the event the clerk from the county recorder refuses to file your recording in terms of your UCC, because you're going to file these UCC when you buy these tax liens, because you're going to establish your status. So sometimes you're going to buy a little cheap lien, purchase you a trust, retitle that property to the trust, or identify your purchasing of tax liens as a form of income or business for ranking and status purposes. So you can be allotted the right sum of money when you get a credit card, allotted the right sum of monies to your business in the form of a credit line. One way or the other, we got to get to the money, and we got to stop with this only getting $5,000-$10,000 if we getting that. We need to get 6 figures and up. That's why I had the black card class the other day. Always talking about race, but we don't be talking about the color of these cards. More of us need to get them black cards. It's very important. You can or will, on your behalf, among several other potential actions, send the violator an affidavit of negative averment for failing to record. Your affidavit is a violation of Title 18 U.S.C. Chapter 101, Section 207, 1 in parentheses B. There is a felony that results in 3-year imprisonment on account to concealing documents in the form of your denial. 18 U.S.C. 2071, concealment, removal, or mutilation generally. And I got the law right there. We're not going to play games because we might have to send what's called a compendium of law. It's called the compendium of law. We'll deal with that at a later time. What is the end game, family? What is the end game? The end game is very clear. In this course, we're going to establish cognizance and due diligence. I need you to be aware of the things that are prerequisite and most significant and integral to studying for real estate acquisitions. Next thing is the acquisition of assets for equitable purposes. After we raise our cognizance for the purposes of executing our due diligence, we will embark upon the acquisition of said real properties for the purposes of being able to access its equity. Once we do this, funding will lead us into investing because we're going to create our own funding. If no one will give us funding right now because our credit is shot, I'm going to show you how to get your own funding. Spending little to no money. And that's going to lead to investing. And after you do your investing is going to lead to stewardship. Not just wealth now, but perpetual wealth. Wealth hereafter. We're talking about you making money, not just now, but where your children will have money, your posterity. We're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about wealth stewardship. That's the end game. So, it comes down to a strategy predicated upon our awareness, understanding, and common sense of money. What are the four money types? Well, let's study here. Commodity money is money in its simplest and most likely also the oldest type of money. Fiat money gets its value from the government and fiduciary money. Okay? Let's go through this. Those are just the most important notes for me. But let's go ahead. Stuff that I like being reiterated. Commodity money, fiat money, fiduciary money, and commercial bank money. Commodity money is based on things such as gold and silver. Fiat money, the one most popular, is value only because government says so. It is colorable by arbitrary means. This is your paper money, right? Then you got fiduciary money, Latin meaning confidence, promise to pay, paper certificate, okay? So your mortgage note, your car notes, fiduciary. Your promise to pay those things, okay? It's fiduciary. So it's a form of currency, getting those promises or those debt obligations written up. You should be accredited and put in that space to receive such, not always be on the receiving end of the same. And commercial bank money is to provide loans, earn interest, and income. Commercial bank money. You should be able to get into that type of money when you have your trust funded and fully equitable. So one leads to the other. So your fiat money should take you into commodity money. Your commodity money should take you to fiduciary money. Your fiduciary money should take you to commercial bank money. So you should take that paper money, invest it into some gold and silver, precious metal refinery account. Leverage what you make from that becomes your fiduciary money as you exchange amongst others. Be empowered by that. Retitle your earnings and hard assets are the same from the success of everything that transpired previously. Retitle it to your trust, and now you should be on your way to commercial bank money. Now you should be able to be in a position where you yourself can extend loans or create opportunities as a creditor for people to be the debtor or other entities to be the debtor, whether they be entities of your very own or beholden to others. Like I said to you, the way this course is designed is to empower people from all angles. So if any parts of this is like, yo, that's just too much, any parts of this is like, yo, I definitely know that, don't worry. You're supposed to get a little of that every time we do it. But one thing's for sure, when it's time to go into application, everybody should be on the level. When Monday comes, we're going to deal with pension. We're going to deal with insurance. And we're going to deal with the trust. We're going to go into detail, great depth. I just want you taking notes. That's Monday. Sunday come, we're going to take what we've established here and what we will establish Monday. Now the event, you guys are always going to get the links. So you can always review this. What I'm going to do with this particular class, I'm going to cut it and edit it so it can be smaller. And then I'm going to send you the new link for this, and I'm going to abolish this link. But at this present moment in time, you have this link at your disposal. And I'll find out the number marker and I'll re-email, start the class at this time. Once we start the class at that time, that'll suffice for now, but I'm going to edit it down so it can just be concrete, straight to the point. You know, I want to thank you all for the time that you've given me for today. The Q&A, we're going to do Q&A on Monday as well. So you can pick up the conversation from anything that you gather here. I'm going to give you enough time to make an assessment about this. Q&A is your cheat code. I'm going to leave the phone line open. We're going to get to work. That's your cheat code. Furthermore, you're going to learn about pensions, trust, and insurance like you never had before. We're talking about execution. We're going to get into some of the applications. But then death is going to take place on Sunday. And by that time, we should be closing out the master course because you guys should already have a plan. You should know how to use your trust, when to use your trust, what type of trust. You should know what's your first investment you're going to make and what level you want so you could pick which options you're going to choose. You know, we're going to go into how to get into real estate agreements and sales without you necessarily having to purchase the real estate in order to sell it to others. We're going to do as much as possible to create enough viable opportunities for people, no matter what their present revenue or earnings disposition is. We want to make sure we don't leave no man or woman behind. So please take the time out, study this, review this, be prepared for Monday. If you can't make it on time for Monday's class, it will be available to you and you will have the link. Study it and keep in tune. I don't care if you got to break it up, 20 minutes this day, 30 minutes that day, 15 minutes that day. If you drive on the road, play it while you're driving. Get as much in tune with this information as possible so when Sunday comes, we have to go through the application. You don't have to say, man, I think I missed that. Because the way I designed this, I designed in such a way that you could just reference what's taking place today and what's taking place Monday. So when I go in the application, I shouldn't be losing anybody. If you find yourself lost, you can say, yo, I can go back because I remember that this was broken down somewhere earlier on. So no words, no terms should have you lost. I want to thank y'all very much for this time. Sorry for my tardiness. I did get up 4 hours earlier to make sure I'm on point. There's a whole damn party going on in front of me. I can't even explain to you the type of chaos that I was in where I'm like, yo, I have to just position myself in such a way so I could do this class no matter what. Then the new software, I think it's just energy. Then the internet here, that's generally always great, was not working. So I'm working off my phone's internet. And my phone was dying. So I had to leave my phone somewhere close enough to be here. So I went through a lot. But guess what? That's the way it's supposed to go when it's important. If it was too smooth, I'd have got work. I'm no stranger to this, so I know when I got very serious communications to deliver, when I got a very serious conveyance, I tend to have all sorts of problems. And that's why I've conditioned myself to start 4 hours earlier the day of to avoid some of these pitfalls. But sometimes I'm still going to be the subject of it. Nonetheless, excellence is the standard we strive for. There's just some things I got to find out how to avoid it. But sometimes it's just like, I just got to weather the storm. And I didn't want to quit and put the date off. I said, I'm going to still do it no matter what. And I stuck with it. And then my family needed me for stuff. And I'm like, yo, man, this is not the time. Y'all got to figure that out without me. So, needless to say, thank you very much for your patience, your love, the time, the effort. Review this. We're going to get in. I do like this new presentation. Because you got to remember, YouTube's no longer using the Google chat that we used to be accustomed to. So I literally found this out today where I'm like, now I got to find a new streaming program that's going to allow me to show the PowerPoint. I literally learned this. It took me about 2 hours because then I'm investigative. Oh, that looked dope. Oh, that looked dope. All right, let me stop. Let me get what I just definitely need right now. But damn, this is so alluring. I love to learn. And normally my wife does this technical stuff, but today was a day I was like, nah, I'm starting to feel like I'm avoiding it. Let me sit here. Let me lock in. She's exhausted. She got the baby. I'm like, I got to do this. And I had a lot of fun. And I got it to work. Man. I'm so proud of myself, man. Why is commercial spelled wrong? My bag, it says Comerical Bank Money. Oh, my goodness. I'm so mad. All right, let me get out of here. I'm going to fix that and give you an updated one. Comerical. That's comical. All right, y'all. Let me see if I can get me out of here. Yeah. How we doing, y'all? Very proud, very proud. Okay, let's see what's going on. I appreciate you guys too. Court is paperwork, that's right. And the courtroom is the room where you discuss the paperwork.